Now officially welcome everybody. It is a big pleasure to be hosting this session, this webinar, to tell you all about these very special events. Obviously, from FLAD's perspective, there has been a lot of effort put into this to get us to this moment. So we're very excited to tell you about these special events. We have prepared the session, which is organized as the following. We'll hear from Professor Michael Baum on some of the context of FLAD's efforts that led us here, that led us to this point. After, we'll be hearing from Elisabeth Frohlich, who's part of the Forum on Education Abroad, who's going to be providing us more context on the organization, and just as importantly, on these specific conferences that will be held in Lisbon in October 2026. And after that, we will be stressing some of the opportunities that we feel are at reach of the Portuguese higher education institutions. Myself and my colleagues, Denise Matos, from National Agency Erasmus Plus, will be presenting you what these opportunities look like. Before we close the webinar, we'll have a dedicated session for Q&A, which, by the way, you're more than welcome to start to position your questions in the chat, and towards the end, we'll try to respond to those. Without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor to Michael Baum. Michael, please. You are on mute, Michael.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Ricardo, and boa tarde a todos. I'm going to speak in English since not everyone in the webinar speaks Portuguese, and since this is also an event that's going to be largely conducted in English. So I guess I'll just first give a little bit of context and history in terms of how this event sort of fits into the larger context of what we're trying to do at FLAD. Vis-a-vis internationalization, particularly of higher education, as well as some other projects which are adjacent to that idea. Basically, I would say, ever since the beginning of FLAD, we're now celebrating this year our 40th anniversary, and FLAD has always been focused very much on mobility between the U.S. and Portugal, particularly for researchers in both countries. And that's been kind of the meat and potatoes of a lot of what FLAD does. But typically, I would say, until relatively recently, most of those efforts have been kind of directed at the individual researcher level, creating opportunities for individuals to make connections across the ocean. And there was some history at FLAD of relationships with the National Science Foundation and other major institutions. So I don't want to suggest that, what we're doing is completely new. But really, over the last 10 years or so, I think our focus has been, to continue with providing lots of individual opportunities for people to make these connections, but trying to sort of go beyond the individual level and really promote institutional relationships on both sides of the Atlantic. And I would say, there's a lot of different definitions out there about what internationalization in higher education means. But I think the way we've interpreted it is a focus on building closer institutional connections between universities and research institutes and funding agencies on both sides of the Atlantic, since that's what FLAD is all about. Just to give you an idea of some of those relationships, we've had probably more than 20 years of a relationship with UC Berkeley. But thanks to FCT, our relationship with UC Berkeley now continues in a much more robust kind of way. We recently held a webinar with FCT and with the national research community to sort of tell them about new sources of funding that exist toward that institution, which is generally considered one of the top public schools in the United States. We also have a long history of institutional collaboration with the Instituto Camões, so both governmental and with private and public institutions. We're in our 10th anniversary of a project that's near and dear to my heart, which is the Study in Portugal Network, which Ricardo, I'm sure we'll talk more about since he oversees that now on a day-to-day basis. But it was this vision I had to, try to make Portugal a bit more legible to the U.S. study abroad student. And just yesterday, we got word that Portugal achieved, a historic high in terms of the number of U.S. students recruited. And SIPN has accounted for about 1,900 of those students over the last 10 years. So we're very proud of that. We have about more than 30 institutional partnerships that we've created with U.S. schools. And, okay, so my background was in the U.S. Higher ed sector, but I think one of the things we've been trying to do at FLAD is really to help create programs and create opportunities for more Portuguese universities and polytechnics to do the same, to build relationships with U.S. institutions. And that's really, what the forum, I think, is it's literally a forum for building those kinds of partnerships. I can tell you that, we've now done 4 iterations of the UP seed grants. These are up to 30,000 euros for each institution, and it's 100,000 euros a year. And we've done this now for 4 years to help Portuguese institutions, again, build bridges with U.S. schools. We've done every 2 years this thing called the FLAD Forum, which we won't do in 26 exactly because this opportunity with the Forum on Education Abroad arose. And it arose in a context that I also want to mention. I know Otilia is here and Denise will be speaking later, but maybe our strongest cross-institutional collaboration, at least in recent times that we've done, is with the help of the Fulbright and the National Erasmus Plus Agency. And the 3 of us together have created this thing called USA Portugal Campus, which again is sort of a platform for building links between institutions on both sides of the Atlantic, and ultimately helps direct all of the Portuguese higher ed institutions toward sort of the culmination, which is the NAFSA conference that happens at the end of May and early June each year. And so FLAD and Erasmus Plus and Fulbright have all been kind of rowing in this direction. It informs everything that we do in the FLAD education area, internationalization being, pretty much one of our key strategic goals. And so, I would just say when this opportunity, we knew the forum well. Ricardo and I had both attended in Boston, and think highly of it as an institution. It's not as commercial as NAFSA is. It's more of a place for learning best practices and sharing experiences. It's a bit more academic, I would say. And they have their own series of workshops and things that they also put on when they organize the forum. And every other year they do this forum in Europe, and they approached us about, Portugal was on their radar, and we thought that this just made all the sense in the world for FLAD to be involved with. And so financially, FLAD is the major partner, of this event that's happening next October, and it will be held at the University of Lisbon. And I think we'll learn much more details now with Elizabeth sort of speaking to you in more detail about it. But again, just a big thanks to everyone on our team, particularly Ricardo, who's sort of been taking the lead on the operational elements of this. This is a major undertaking for the foundation. It takes up a lot of our bandwidth, and we're not a big team. But it's important to us, and I think it will be a really historic opportunity for Portuguese institutions who may not always have the funds to go all the way to NAFSA. This is, I don't want to say the next best thing, but it's a different institution with a different mission, and they're coming to you, and so it's a really historic opportunity. I hope everyone participates in it.
Thank you so much, Michael. This was precious information. You may want to just add here a little appreciation word for our partners at Lisboa.
Oh, I thought, yeah, I meant to. I may not have said it, but yeah, again, it's not just that we're providing the financing. We were only able to do this because the University of Lisbon gave us a significant amount of support from what would maybe be their normal commercial rates. To hold this at the University of Lisbon, at the Aula Magna and associated rooms. I think it's going to be a very nice event, and Center City, easy to get to. The Forum visited us recently and visited the University of Lisbon and had a tour, and I think they were also very excited by what they saw. So anyhow, I want to thank the Reitoria, and in particular the rector of the University of Lisbon, who was just here the other day. And again, to all of our friends at UL, many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. There was a lot of important insights on the work that the foundation does. And I guess I'll just take this space to invite everyone in attendance to visit our website and sign up to get our newsletter. I think our communication colleagues will be happy that we use this space also to share our communication flows. Without further ado, I invite Elisabeth Frohlich, which we should thank for her presence here. Of course, nothing better than hear from the source, right, on the amazing work that the Forum on Education Abroad as an association does, as well as going into the specifics, these two specific conferences that will be held in Lisbon next October. Thank you, Elisabeth.
Thank you so much, Ricardo. Thank you, Michael, for having me here today. Thanks to the whole team at FLAD for having me here today, but also for your efforts in welcoming the Forum community to Lisbon next October. This is no easy task. I know it's a tremendous effort, an investment of time and resources on your part to bring these events to Lisbon, and we are so grateful to both you and the University of Lisbon for hosting us. I'm Elisabeth Frohlich. I am Senior Director for Learning and Event Engagement at the Forum on Education Abroad. And I'll tell you a little bit about the Forum as an organization, and then talk in more detail about the events that we'll be hosting in Lisbon next October. But first, we have a special message from the Forum's President and CEO, Melissa Torres.
As the granddaughter of Portuguese immigrants,
I hope you can all hear
I am
it.
thrilled that FLAD has agreed to host the Forum on Education Abroad's Europe, Middle East, and Africa Conference, as well as our Careers, Internships, and Global Learning Conference at the Universidade de Lisboa in October of 2026. The Forum is a nonprofit membership association whose mission is to cultivate educators who champion high-quality education abroad experiences that ignite curiosity, impact lives, and contribute to a better world. The EMEA conference unites international educators from across the globe to explore mobility and meaningful global engagement in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. It is an excellent opportunity for open dialogue and relationship building between colleagues from these regions and the United States. The EMEA conference will again be held in conjunction with the Forum's Careers, Internships, and Global Learning Conference, which focuses on the role of global learning in preparing students for the world of work. On the day in between the two conferences, we will host a very special event to build partnerships between Portuguese and U.S. institutions. Hosting these events demonstrates an incredible commitment to our partnership and to our field. We are so very grateful to FLADS for its support. I hope to see you all in October, and congratulations to FLAD on your 40th anniversary. Obrigada.
All right, so I will tell you just a little bit more about the Forum, because I'm sure some of you are not yet familiar. We hope you soon will be. So the Forum is a nonprofit membership association with over 800 members. And as our president said, our mission is to cultivate educators who champion high quality education abroad experiences that ignite curiosity, impact lives, and contribute to a better world. We are based in the US, and roughly 85% of our membership is based in the US as well. And membership is institutional. So our members are universities, colleges, and third-party organizations that offer education abroad experiences. And when a higher education institution is a member, everyone at that institution receives benefits. We have been around since 2001. We will be celebrating our 25th anniversary in 2026. So we'll be able to celebrate it in Lisbon. One thing that is unique about the Forum on Education Abroad is that we are the Standards Development Organization for Education Abroad, and that is a designation that we get from the U.S. Department of Justice and Federal Trade Commission. And so that means that our organization sets standards of good practice for education abroad programs. And U.S. universities and companies involved in international mobility use our standards to guide their practice and ensure high-quality experiences for students. And international partners of U.S. higher education institutions will use our standards to inform themselves of the priorities of U.S. partners. In support of our mission, we obviously set the standards. We also deliver digital and print resources designed to improve practice in international education, and many of these are available to the public. We have even more available to members. We offer an array of training and professional development opportunities. We have a research arm, and so we conduct research. We put out a state of the field survey every other year. Annually, we conduct a student risk report. We have an academic journal, Frontiers, the Interdisciplinary Journal of Study Abroad. And then we host a variety of events, both virtually, in person, large and small. We have conferences, institutes, regional seminars, webinars, and workshops. And we are so thrilled that two of our major conferences will be happening in Lisbon in October. As you have heard, first, there is the Careers, Internships, and Global Learning Conference, or CIGL, and second, the Europe, Middle East, and Africa Conference, or EMEA. And Portugal really is an ideal location for these events as one of the fastest growing study abroad destinations for US students, in a city with ample internship opportunities for undergraduates and with historical ties to the Middle East and Africa, which are part of the EMEA conference region. So I'll start by telling you a little bit more about CIGL, or the Careers, Internships, and Global Learning Conference, which kicks off our week in Lisbon. So this will start the week of October 11th. And this conference explores the intersection between international education, including international internships and other forms of experiential education abroad, how this prepares students for the global workforce and for future career success. And so it's an event that brings together international educators from higher education institutions with career services professionals from higher ed as well, with employers and industry representatives to collaborate and to examine trends in global workforce development. And this is an event we created about 4 years ago because US students are focused more than ever on how their education will lead to successful employment. And so being able to demonstrate the impact of international experiences on future careers is of increasing importance to students and their families. So this is a trending topic for us. The theme for 2026 is From Experience to Impact, Inspiring Global Careers. And the target audience for this conference includes international education administrators and faculty, career services administrators, so those advising students on how to get jobs, as well as international internship providers, and then the employers and industry representatives, those that will be hiring students once they graduate. We just wrapped up our 2025 event, which happened in Costa Rica last month. We had around 200 participants. And so even though this is a relatively new event, it's in its 5th year now, we've seen consistent growth and we're really hitting our stride. So we expect an even bigger audience next year. In 2025, around 75% of CIGL attendees were based in the US. The remainder were fairly evenly distributed among Europe, Latin America, and Asia. And so this changes year to year based on where we hold the event. And when we are in Lisbon in the fall, we expect to see more Europeans. All right, so that's CIGL. In a nutshell, I'll tell you a little bit about EMEA now, the Europe, Middle East, and Africa Conference. So this is one of the forum's signature events that we have been running every other year since 2012. And it is a regional event that explores issues shaping international education in the EMEA region. And it is a fantastic opportunity for networking and collaboration between US-based colleagues and those based in the EMEA region. And so it's an opportunity to meet with colleagues and partners, both new and old, in person rather than on Zoom. And it's our way of bringing the forum directly to the colleagues based in the EMEA region who might not otherwise be able to travel to attend a forum event. And we really try as much as possible to elevate the voices of those based in the region. While the forum is a US-based organization, through these regional events, we try and center the perspectives of the people doing the work on the ground. And this event happens every other year, as I mentioned. In the years when we don't have an EMEA conference, we have what we call a European Institute, which is a slightly smaller event focusing on colleagues based in Europe. We actually held that last week in Bologna, Italy, and it was a great success. The theme for our EMEA conference in 2026 is Navigating Transition, Redefining Connections Through International Education, and really addresses the moment we all find ourselves in right now, with so much uncertainty and instability in the world. The target audience for this conference is higher education institutions in the conference region, so both administrators and faculty, as well as colleagues working for US higher education institutions and program provider organizations in the region. So colleagues based in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa who work for US institutions, as well as colleagues from the US who will come to Lisbon to attend the event. Typically, we have between 300 and 400 attendees, and around 60% are based in the conference region. The remainder, around 40%, come from the US. So these two events, CIGL and EMEA, will bring many US universities to Portugal. And so it makes it a really interesting opportunity for all of you to make connections and form new partnerships. And if you're familiar with the forum and with our standards, that'll be helpful in starting those conversations. And one other thing that I find is really unique about forum events is that people really come for the sessions. They come for the high quality content. They come to network, but a lot of that networking happens in the sessions around topics of importance. It is a really different field than NAFSA. As Michael mentioned, it is less commercial. And I think the dialogue is really substantive. So that is an overview of the two conferences. And now I can give you a little information around pricing and registration rates for these. Registrations are open now. And here you have the registration rates for members and non-members in US dollars. And I know we have here on the slide EMEA only and EMEA and CIGL combined. If you were to do CIGL only, the rates are the same as they are for EMEA only. If you do the two conferences and spend the entire week, so 5 days, you do get a discount. And that's noted in the EMEA and CIGL combined. Registration for the conferences includes, so for each conference, it would be 2.5 days of content. There's an evening reception for each conference, 2 lunches and 2 coffee breaks per day are included. And there's a closing toast at each conference. Let's see. I think that that's about it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have during the Q&A. But now I will turn it back to Ricardo.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. We hope that our audience is now a bit more contextualized on this conferences that happen to happen in the same week. And we've tried to combine all this information a bit more visually in this slide. kind of like to show you how the week flows. And as you've mentioned, Elizabeth, the week starts with a reception actually on a Sunday that will be held here at FLAD's auditorium to kick off the CIGL, right? And so CIGL will unfold, as we know, at the University of Lisboa Reitoria, both on Monday and Tuesday, the entire days. And there will also be some add-ons that Forum calls it a pre-conference workshop, as I understand. And so Wednesday, it's a relevant day in terms of additional agenda that we, FLAD, and our partners are, in addition to the forum dynamics, we're trying to bring spotlight, let's say. So we'll cover this in a little bit. So Wednesday, there will be a lot of things happening in addition to the main venue, which is the Reitoria. And also on Wednesday, towards the evening, we'll kick off the EMEA, which will then unfold full day on Thursday and Friday, right? So it's going to be a long and very interesting week for us all in the international education. And again, just on the spirit of questions, please feel free to keep writing your questions on the chat. We'll cover those towards the end of this session. We would like now to, obviously we understand that the main audience of this webinar are professionals, individuals, faculty, scholars that work within the internationalization of their education institutions that they represent. And so we would like to stress some of the additional opportunities that we would like for you to know about at this point. I'll be talking, and Denise, please, feel free to to complete if I neglect to mention important information. So first and foremost, I guess the number one goal of this session is to get you excited about these conferences and have you registering for those as attendees, right? That's like bottom line, is to have you participating in these conferences. And additionally, to participate in these amazing panels and various sessions is for you to submit proposals. Of course, from FLAD perspective, besides hosting this group of people, of attendees, we would like for these conferences to showcase Portuguese individuals, Portuguese institutions, Portuguese good practices and related themes. So please have this in mind. There is still some time. I know that we all have our busy schedules, but an important date for you to keep in mind is the deadline to submit such proposals, which is January 26th. So maybe during holiday break or something, if you have the bandwidth to submit to the forum proposals, that would be fantastic. This would be number one. Number two, as you've seen in the slide that showed the entire week plan, on Wednesday, when the CIGL ends and before the EMEA starts, we'll be organizing, or the schedule will leave room for, in this case, Lisbon-based higher education institutions to be able to host cohorts of attendees to their own campus. For the ones of you that are here that have attended NAFSE, for example, we have had the chance to visit universities that are located close to the conference venue, organized by the Fulbright, if people that are here recall that. The idea here is exactly the same, right? So to create space for Portuguese universities, in this case for logistical reasons, Lisbon-based universities or polytechnics, to be able to host a group of Forum on Education Abroad conference attendees. At this point, we still have some time. What we ask you, if this is of interest, we hope it is to send an email, and it's my colleague Sylvia's email here is written in this slide, until January 30th, is to position interest, saying, yes, my university, my polytechnic would like to attend a group of forum conference attendees, and we'll go from there. The third angle here that we would like to explore, again, to provide the most spotlight possible to the Portuguese institutions, is a speed dating / networking event, also to be held on Wednesday in the afternoon part. This dynamic will be co-facilitated by the national agency Erasmus+, who is very much experienced to mediate these kinds of events, right? When there's the locals, let's say, that are showcasing their offerings and the ones that are visiting, to have a clear understanding about, the lay of the land. Interesting dialogue, as Elizabeth was saying, can spark, and hopefully some new partnerships are established during this week. Again, same logic. If you would like to participate, and I should say, the Portuguese higher education institution, if you would like to participate in this speed dating event, please position your interest to the emails that you see below, again, by January 30th. And the rest will be handled by us, and this information will then be made available to the attendees by the forum. In principle, this is TBC. It's going to be held at Casa do Alentejo, but for the ones that are familiar with this place located in Lisbon, but this is still TBC. And I'll just close going a bit more generic here. On behalf of the Forum on Education Abroad, we know, and FLAD has actually explored some of these opportunities. The forum itself has some additional sponsorship, visibility opportunities that Portuguese higher education institutions, of course, can take advantage. Important to know that the forum's flagship event, Elizabeth, I'm kind of like speaking on your behalf, I hope you don't mind. The forum's annual conference, I would say one of the flagship events that is held every year in the United States, will happen in Nashville this year in March, if my memory serves. So if you, Portuguese institution, is very well motivated to understand more about the forum, to start to take advantage of this unique ecosystem, you're obviously free to explore and sign up for the annual conference in Nashville. And I see that there are also regional seminars. So a lot going on with the forum. And we just want, Portugal to also be part of this, all this movida. And this is what's happening in October 2026. We're reaching towards the end of the event. Of the webinar. Michael, do you want to just add something here? Kind of like to get people pumped about this chance opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think you stated it very well. It's the idea is to use this week where we're going to have significant numbers of international institutions here in Lisbon with us, and to have schools both on the Wednesday morning, schools that are in the Lisbon area who want to open up their doors and show the visitors around and organize a lunch for them. And then in the afternoon at the Casa de Alentejo, for any institution of higher education in Portugal to hopefully engage in the speed dating event. I think we're also going to be trying to do something in Porto, Ricardo, but those are TBC things that we can talk about later. So I think it's really going to be a wonderful opportunity. We're going to also try to organize some other things in the city of Lisbon. On Wednesday, for those who are not attending the workshops at the universities, but also maybe doing some cultural field trips with interesting NGOs and other organizations in Lisbon to give the attendees more than just the standard touristic view of Lisbon. So that's something else we're going to be working on.
And Michael, if you allow me, we just pretty much used here a testimonial that our colleagues, the previous host of Forum European conferences, in this case was in Greece. Of course, there's been a lot of work between us and them, kind of like to benchmark and understand how it was for them. And we've received amazing feedback. So I guess our point is this is really a fantastic opportunity, as Michael put it. I don't know if it's an historic opportunity, but it's a super relevant one. And so hopefully we as a community, hopefully we can take positive advantage of that. I mean, that's the main motto, is to get involved with us. Maybe you have ideas for FLAD to have in consideration. Please feel free to reach out to us so we can take the most out of these events. I think this is it, right? And if my colleagues agree, we'll then look at the Q&A. Right, see if we have some good pressing questions here.
Denise was going to also, she's going to speak after the Q&A.
No, in fact, Denise, I think I just took over Denise.
No problem. I talked with Ricardo yesterday, and we agreed that Ricardo can make the presentation. I'm here just to reinforce that it is our pleasure from the part of the National Agency to support this activity. I think Michael and Ricardo already told everything. Let me just invite all the institutions that are here present that it's, again, a very good opportunity. Receive this big event in Portugal. It's also good for all of the higher education institutions. So please feel free to join us and to register your institution into the activities for the 14th of October. Ricardo already mentioned we are working together in the morning with the possibility of visits, and in the afternoon with the speed dating. So please feel free to contact us at the National Agency. The email, if we share the presentation, the email is there, but you know the email of the internationalization. And it's a pleasure to be again part of this working progress with the consortium USAPT campus. So you said everything, count on us to work together again.
Thank you so much, Denise. I just open up the Q&A, and it seems like we don't have any, question on this presentation. There was a question if this is going to be shared. My colleague Sylvia already responded. It's not going to be sent to all the ones that registered here in this webinar, but it will be made available on FLAD's website. So again, another visit for you to make a stop on our website sometime soon, where more information regarding these events will start to appear. So I guess we don't have additional questions, right? At least I don't see more questions. So with that, I'm just gonna share here some context. Again, this webinar has been recorded. It's gonna be made available online in FLAD's website. Just a quick reminder of the most, let's say, key dates on our roadmap to the forum, using here an expression that we usually use for the NAFSA event. So again, January 29 is the deadline for proposals, so please have this in mind. For the parallel agenda that FLAD alongside partners is putting together to provide additional spotlight to the Portuguese institutions, it's January 30th. Right, for the speed dating and for your campus, if in Lisbon, to be visited. And the early bird, of course, before prices go up on July 10. Hopefully everybody makes a time to register. And Michael, if you allow me, I'm just gonna close this session as you've started, meaning that FLAD, we've been working systematically in partnership with the most relevant institutions in Portugal to combine resources, to combine efforts. And there is a lot of other ongoing efforts, and Denise for sure soon will be also talking about roadmaps to NAFSA and other things. The point is, hopefully this community continues to grow and excel with the US and beyond. So thank you very much for your attention. With that, maybe we close the session.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Denise, for your time and energy too. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed.
Obrigado.
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Obrigado.